Hello, I'm Beatrix Potter. I'm going to read you my second story called The Tale of Tom Kitten. This is Tom Kitten, by the way, and he wants me to read the story for you. So, let's see. Tom Kitten is very naughty. So, shall we begin? Okay. Once upon a time, there were 3 little kittens, and the names were Mittens, Tom Kitten, and Moppet. They often used to tumble about and play in the dust. One day, their mother, Mr. Tabitha Twitchit, expected friends to tea, so she fetched the kittens indoors to wash and dress them before the fine company arrived. First, she scrubbed their faces, then she brushed their fur, then she combed their tails and whiskers. Tom was very naughty and he scratched. Mrs. Tabitha Twitchit dressed Moppet and Mittens in clean pinafores and tuckers. Then she took all sorts of elegant and comfortable clothes out of a chest of drawers in order to dress up her son Thomas. Tom Kitten was very fat, and he had grown. Several buttons burst off his jacket. His mother sewed them on again. When the 3 kittens were ready, Mrs. Tabitha Twitchit unwisely turned them out into the garden to be out of the way while she made hot buttered toast. Now, keep your frocks clean, children, she called. You must walk on your hind legs, keep away from the dirty ash pit, and from Sally Hennypenny, and from the pigsty, and the puddle ducks. Moppet and Mittens walked down the garden path unsteadily. Presently, they trod upon the pinafores and fell on their noses. When they stood up, there were several green smears on their clothes. "Let's climb up the rockery and sit on the garden wall," said Moppet. They turned their pinafores back to front and went up with a skip and a jump. Moppet's white tucker fell down into the road. Tom Kitten was quite unable to jump when walking on his hind legs in trousers. He came up with the rockery by degrees, breaking the ferns and shedding his jacket buttons right and left. He was all in pieces. Moppet and Mittens tried to pull him together, but his head fell off and the rest of his button burst. While they were in difficulties, there was a pit-pat, puddle-pat. 3 puddle ducks came along the road, marching one behind the other and doing the goose step. Pit-pat, puddle-pat, pit-pat, waddle-pat. They stopped and stared at the kittens. Then Rebecca and Jemima Puddle Duck picked up the hat and tucker and put them on. Mittens laughed so much that she fell off the wall. Moppet and Tom tumbled after her. The pinafores and all of the rest of Tom's clothes came off on the way down. "Come, Mr. Drake Puddleduck," said Moppet. "Come and help us to dress him. Come and button up Tom." Mr. Drake Puddleduck advanced in sideways manner and picked up the various articles, but he put them on himself. They fit him even worse than Tom Kitten. "It was a very fine morning," said Mr. Drake Puddleduck, and he and Jemima and Rebecca set up off the road, keeping step. Pit-pat, waddle-pat, pit-pat, paddle-pat. Then Mrs. Tabitha Twitchit came down the garden and found her kittens with no clothes on. She pulled the kittens off the wall, smacked them, and took them back to the house. "Just look at you! My friends will arrive in a minute, and you are not fit to be seen. I am affronted," said Mrs. Tabitha Twitchit. "Go straight to your room, and not one sound do I wish to hear." When her friends arrived, she told them that the kittens were in bed with measles, which was not true. Quite the contrary. They were not in bed, not in the least. Somehow there were very extraordinary noises heard overhead, which disturbed the dignity and repose of the tea party. As for the puddle ducks, they went into a pond. Their clothes came off directly because there were no buttons. And Mr. Drake Puddleduck and Jemima and Rebecca have been looking for them ever since. The end. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Beatrix Potter, 1866 to 1943. She was a famous children's author and illustrator. Her most famous work was The Tale of Peter Rabbit. It was published in 1902 and Beatrix was 35 years old. Beatrix was about to get married to her publisher Norman Ward, but he died of lymphatic leukemia. She was 35 years old at the time and he was 33 years old. Beatrix married her childhood friend William Healis in 1913. She wrote 30 books and 24 of them were children's books. A movie was made about her in 2006. It was called Miss Potter, starring Renee Zellweger.